Hi, today is March 4th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day from a remote location. The first poem of the day is 370 for the year, Stored in the Memory. The weekend with Mom has been great so far. We watched Double Indemnity all the way through and parts of Mildred Piece and earlier The Best Years of Our Lives. Both of us had seen these movies multiple times, so missing chunks of them to attend to other things was fine. Another thing I like about being here is that my mom still has a lot of stuff that was here when I was a kid. Yesterday I noticed the large wood carving of St. Peter in the living room. You can tell it's St. Peter because he's got an enormous key. I said to my mom, St. Peter will open the pearly gates for you if you've been not nice enough and not too naughty. But of course, if you need to smoke a cigarette, you might have to make him wait. I wanted to see if she remembered the song, and of course she did. And she immediately burst into, Tell St. Peter at the gate that you hate to make him wait, but you've just got to have another cigarette. My mom always had so many songs for us as kids, as teenagers, as young adults, and now as older adults. An odd phrase might trigger in her the memory of a song from long ago, and she can still pull out songs that I have never heard. It happens to me all the time, too. As one illustrative example, when we watched The Best Years of Our Lives, Costello's Let Them All Talk came to my mind. These are the best years of our lives, now they're here and gone. I love how often Costello references movies. In that song, he also references To Have and Have Not. And I love how songs remain stored in my mom's memory and mine. Poem number 371, Wood Carving. That wood carving of St. Peter has been in this apartment since at least the mid-70s. I know because I used it for a film in junior high school. I didn't want to write papers, so sometimes I asked teachers if I could make a film instead, or rather, if David Graeber and I, yes, that David Graeber, could make a film together. The teachers always said yes, and then David would read the book or do the research, and I'd figure out how to film it. For China, some customs and practices, David told me about woodblock printing and foot binding, and I forget what else, and we put it in the film. We used the St. Peter wood carving for our film adaptation of the Odyssey. David told me how the Cyclops got drunk and passed out, and Odysseus and his men drove a stake of wood into his eye. My brother Faceboy, who was not yet known as Faceboy, already had some acting credits to his name. He was in Robert Downey Sr.'s Pound, so he was cast as the Cyclops. He did an extraordinary job of getting drunk and passing out. We used the wood carving as the stake by turning it around to its non-carved side, and a bunch of us held it and ran with it. Cut to Faceboy, who wakes up with a little stick in the eye that was stuck to the middle of his forehead. It was great in that scene, too. I'm pretty sure that those films are in this apartment somewhere, and I would love to see them again. Poem number 372, Face. My brother has a poem called Why Do They Call You Face Boy? But his poem doesn't actually explain the origin of the name. I came up with the name on April 18th, 1976. The night before, I had seen Billy Crystal do a monologue on Saturday Night Live, where he reminisced about an old jazz musician who, if he saw a cute kid, one of which I guess Billy Crystal must have been, or a nice-looking woman, the jazz musician would call them Face. Crystal did the routine in the voice of the musician, and the catchphrase was, Can you dig it? I knew that you could, which I had misremembered as, Can you dig it, Face? I knew that you could. I found the routine annoying, and as a result, I still have a bit of an allergy to Billy Crystal. But the next morning, I asked my brother, Why do they call you Face Boy? And he protested that they don't, and I was like, Yes, they do. Everybody calls you Face Boy. I don't remember if I was quite enough of an asshole to keep calling him Faceboy until he just gave up and adopted it as a nickname, or whether I let it go and he picked it up, or what. But that is the actual story of why they call him Faceboy. Poem number 373. Hell of an episode. I don't remember the date of that SNL episode, and I couldn't find the clip of Crystal's routine, but I found a document online with a rundown of what was an incredible episode. It included the Super Bassomatic, which made me very sad when I rewatched it a few years ago, Fluckers, with a name like Mangled Baby Ducks, it has to be good, and Emily Litella confused about the upcoming, pun intended, presidential election. And musical guest the Patti Smith Group. Crystal came on toward the very end and had a lot of tough acts to follow. The audience didn't seem to love it, and neither did I. I rewatched the routine this morning on Peacock. It is not without its charm, but it was crazy to watch something again that I hadn't seen since I was 15 and that I had watched in this very apartment on April 17th, 1976. I don't remember the whole thing, but let me tell you, that was one hell of an episode. Poem number 374, Wake Up and Perform. It's one thing to be sleeping and have to perform sexually. It's been some time since that has been requested, or better still, demanded of me. But this morning, after being up about 15 minutes, I thought, what if I had to read poems or sing songs in front of people right now? What if instead of being scheduled to read that one poem this afternoon, what if it had been scheduled for 7 a.m. this morning? My second thought was I'd be impressed if any sort of an audience would show up that early, and that thought led to the poem I will probably write next. But my first thought was, could I do it? And at that time, 7 a.m., I thought maybe I couldn't only because I had only been up for 15 minutes. If you had told me yesterday that I would have to perform at 7 a.m., I would have set my alarm a bit earlier, maybe have a cup of tea first. Probably have a cup of tea first. Of course, back in the day, I never needed tea or coffee in order to perform the other way, and maybe I still wouldn't. I wonder if I'll ever find out, he said, somewhat pathetically. Poem number 375, The Performance Covenant. Note, just now I spent too much time trying to determine whether in the Christian tradition there was a gender-neutral term for nunnery or monastery. There probably is, but I got frustrated looking and gave up after learning that the word convent, which now refers to an order of women, used to be the word for friary, which now denotes an order of men. So I'm using convent as a gender-neutral term because it has historically referred to the two most popular genders, and I see no reason why I couldn't refer to them all. So here's the story. A convent had been formed of women and men and others who spent cloistered days in celebration of performance. They would wake up at 4 and engage in some communal prayer. The first set of performances began promptly at 5, followed by breakfast at 6:30, followed by more prayer and performance again at 9:30, then lunch, meditation, prayer, then noon performances, more prayer, dinner at 2, after dinner performances, meditation, evening performances, which were actually at 5:30 p.m., bedtime prayer, and lights out at 7. It was a rigorous program. Every few days, each of the nuncs, which is the gender-neutral term they used to describe themselves, would have to perform once, and every day each nunc would have to be an audience member at least 4 times, and often 5. At the performance convent, the nuncs would learn how to hone their skills as a performer. But more importantly, they learned how to be good audience members, which is something that a lot of performers, including me, suck at. And the last poem of the day is poem number 376, Which Way? At a little after 3 today, I will be performing Invisible Dog at the Jefferson Market Courthouse Library. I've been wondering whether I ought to read it or sing it. I can't play it on the uke because I don't know the chords, but I think I remember the vocal melody. I decided to ask my mom her opinion. She had never heard it before, so I read it to her, and I liked it. And then I sang it to her in kind of a half-assed way, because I didn't remember the chords, and she liked it better. Problem solved. I will go to the library and I will ask Philip, also known as No Intros Guy, because he prohibits you from doing intros. I will ask Philip whether it's okay if I sing it instead of reading it. Or maybe I will just sing it instead of reading it. Sometimes it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. All right, that's it for the day. Thank you. Thank you so much. I did it. Thank you.